Day 6 of 2022. Honestly, it doesn't feel like a new year. It feels like more of the same. Wake up, check the daily medical bulletin, check how many new cases have been reported, check how many of them were of Omicron. Today's bulletin was more bad news. India's caseload surged 56% in 24 hours. This is what the trajectory looks like. Around 30,000 cases on Sunday, 37,000 on Monday, 58,000 on Tuesday, and more than 90,000 cases yesterday, that's Wednesday. This graph makes one thing clear. The third wave is on and it is getting bigger every day. Is Omicron driving the surge? Seems like it, but we cannot be sure. Not every COVID sample is sent for genome sequencing. So statistically, the Omicron caseload remains low. On Wednesday, it was 495 Omicron cases in 24 hours. India's total is around 2,600. Remember, this is because a lot of the samples are not being sent for genome sequencing. Now, where are these cases being reported? All over India. 26 states have confirmed Omicron so far. Maharashtra tops the list with around 800 cases. Delhi is second with around 460. The bigger cities are becoming hotspots. Mumbai reported its highest single-day rise. Delhi's cases doubled in 24 hours, and Kolkata makes up 50% of all cases in West Bengal. So cases are rising, and they're rising fast. What about deaths? On Wednesday, 325 fatalities were reported. How many from Omicron? Just one so far, a 73-year-old man from Rajasthan with multiple comorbidities. And that's the saving grace here. Most Omicron cases appear to be mild. Now, when I say mild, I don't mean asymptomatic. You may get symptoms, but you may not need a hospital. In Mumbai, only 8% cases needed hospitalization. In Delhi, only 7% of COVID beds are occupied. So the big takeaway is this: cases are rising, but hospitalization is not, and thank God for that. The key is to keep it that way. If this third wave spreads to rural India, it's a different ballgame altogether. Fewer hospitals, fewer ICU beds. We could be looking at an even bigger outbreak. So governments across the world have two challenges at this point. One is to contain the virus, and two is to keep the economy open. And to do this, they're tweaking isolation rules. We'll start with India again. The Health Ministry has announced two big changes. Number one, assume someone around you tests positive for COVID. Earlier, it was mandatory for you to get tested as well. It's not anymore. So if you have no symptoms, there is no need for you to get tested. Change number two, home isolation has been shortened. Earlier, you had to quarantine for at least 10 days after testing positive. Now, 7 days. If you have no symptoms, no fever, you can exit quarantine after 7 days. And India is not the only one easing isolation rules. In the US, quarantine was earlier 10 days, now it's 5 days. In Scotland, it has been shortened from 10 days to 7. Businesses in the UK are calling for the same. The obvious question is this risky? Well, honestly, yes, it is. Shorter quarantine is always risky. But there is some science behind this decision. You see, COVID is most infectious in two phases: 2 days before symptoms and 3 days after. So technically, a 5 to 7 day quarantine period should be enough. Plus, it keeps the economy alive. So there is logic behind this decision. But I can't say the same about the next one. This is from China. Dozens of supermarkets are being shut down. Guess why? Over infected fruits. 2 years into the pandemic, and we are still debating this, Chinese authorities say they have found traces of the Wuhan virus on dragon fruit that came from Vietnam. So imports are being scanned and customers are being sent to quarantine. And just to be clear, COVID-19 cannot be transmitted through food. So China's stunt is most likely an overreaction. Perhaps they are paranoid after the recent outbreak, or maybe it's a precaution ahead of the Winter Olympics, or maybe it's just China being China. They want to punish Vietnam for something. Who knows? Such unscientific methods are a distraction from the real challenge. What do I mean by the real challenge? The scale of the Omicron wave, it's massive. We can say it's mild. We can say it's only affecting the unvaccinated, but we cannot ignore the numbers. Britain is reporting around 200,000 cases every day. 200,000. France, 300,000 on Wednesday. America, 1 million. Canada, 40,000. What's common about these countries? High vaccination rate in all of them, plus excellent medical infrastructure. Yes, their cases are skyrocketing. So what's the lesson here? Vaccines may dampen your symptoms, but it is not 100% immunity. You will still have to use conventional containment methods like partial lockdowns or social distancing. France, for instance, is trying out a vaccine passport. How does that work? Basically, it's your key to social life. Anyone over 12 will have to show proof of vaccination everywhere, at restaurants, at bars, to travel everywhere. French lawmakers have cleared this proposal. Once it passes the Senate, it will become law. But what if you're not vaccinated yet? A, what exactly are you waiting for? And B, you will be denied access to public services. So no train rides, no eating out. It's an interesting way, you could say, to tackle vaccine hesitancy. We need such improvised thinking because old tactics are not working. Take Hong Kong, for instance. They're still banning flights. Starting Sunday, planes from 8 countries will be banned for 2 weeks. The list includes the US, Britain, India, France and Canada. Experts agree that travel bans do not work. They'll wreck your economy, but not stop the virus. To beat this virus, we must learn from it. If the virus changes, so must our strategy. The same old night curfews or flight bans will not cut it. We need some out-of-the-box thinking. Unless, of course, you're North Korea. In which case, a small virus does not scare you. You have bigger issues to deal with, like testing new missiles or holding extravagant rallies. On New Year's, they also tried something different. A special message from the country's children. Take a look at this.
세계를 휩쓸고 있습니다. 그러나 우리나라엔 행복이 우리였음 더 활짝 진행합시다. 알았어. 서덕을 하자요. 똑바로 하자요. 서덕술은 팔걸음 지경대로 총각치 칙칙칙.
WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.